Hey everyone, as we head into 2026 and wrap up the past year, we'll be taking a look at every major transit project underway in Canada, totaling well over $100 billion and nearly 400 kilometers in rapid transit, not including regional and high-speed rail projects also underway. While I'm mostly covering rail projects across the country, there are tons of smaller programs to improve transit in urban and rural areas. Canada may not be perfect at building transit, but every project is a step forward and improvements to design are taking place. It's an exciting time for Canadian transit. Here's everything that happened this year. On the West Coast, BC's rapid transit expansion is centered around Vancouver, with 2 extensions of the SkyTrain under construction. Adding significantly more tunneled stations to the traditional SkyTrain network, the Broadway subway extends the Millennium Line with 6 new stations to replace much of the 99B line bus, one of the busiest in North America. Current construction involves installing systems and required infrastructure in stations and repaving the roadway near construction sites. Track installation has also begun along the alignment. The 16-kilometer Surrey-Langley SkyTrain is entirely elevated and planned to open in 2029. Concrete pours of the guideway piers are taking place along the corridor, with guideway girders being installed above. Early station construction is also taking place. Vancouver is also in the planning process for several BRT lines to improve bus service. Alberta is currently finishing the process of finalizing a long-term passenger rail master plan, guiding provincial projects for regional rail and integration between existing rapid transit systems in Calgary and Edmonton. The master plan was supposed to be completed this past year, however it is yet to be released, suggesting that final details are still being sorted out. The plan will develop a 15-year strategy for rail expansion in the province, including commuter rail and regional rail lines. In Edmonton, construction of the Valley Line West extension continues with elevated station buildings under construction and rail installation well underway. The first LRV being built by Hyundai Rotem was delivered this summer, while the rest of the fleet is constructed and delivered. These vehicles will be compatible with the existing Alstom Flexity Freedom LRVs used on the first phase of the line. The 2-stop extension of the Capital Line also broke ground this year in the south end of the city. Farther south in Calgary, construction of the Green Line Southeast LRT began earlier this year. More major contracts will be awarded next year to further progress on the project. The first low-floor vehicles for the line have started to be built by CAF, the first Canadian purchase for the company. Planning of the downtown segment of the Green Line also continued this year. An elevated guideway seems to be most likely, although that may prove challenging due to the numerous pedestrian bridges above downtown roads. Construction continues in Saskatchewan, with Saskatoon's Link, 3 BRT lines being built across the city to improve and enhance the transit experience for bus riders. Calling Link a BRT project is a bit of a stretch, only including a couple kilometers of median right-of-way. However, each line will have transit signal priority at intersections, queue jump lanes in key locations, and higher quality stops, even on curbs where buses will operate in mixed traffic. The project is clearly meant to improve reliability of the existing bus network, making it better for existing riders while attracting new ones, a logical step for building a better transit system. Other bus routes will also be improved and modified, while frequencies on the BRT routes will be every 10 minutes or better during peak times. Ontario is really leading transit expansion in Canada simply by the sheer number of projects underway. However, the majority are centered within the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Toronto's Finch West LRT opened earlier this month to major criticism due to travel times on the $2.5 billion project, surpassing public estimates by nearly 25 minutes, consistently being equal to or slower than the bus it replaced, and having delays every day for the first week after launch. The bright side is that political will has built up to implement transit signal priority on the Finch West LRT, the soon-to-open Eglinton Crosstown, and the existing streetcar network. The Eglinton Crosstown almost opened this year, but the TTC insisted on pushing back the opening to better prepare. After seeing the disappointing launch of Line 6, I would much rather the line be kept closed until the TTC can ensure better operations. Initial testing has already demonstrated the line is not being run fast enough. One of the projects I'm most excited for is the Ontario Line, a new automated metro being built in some of the densest parts of Toronto, integrating the existing subway network and regional rail network. Construction began in 2021, and the goal is to open in 2031. Although, like any other major project, a year of delays wouldn't be unexpected. TBMs are expected to be launched in early 2026, station excavation is well underway, and elevated guideways are already being constructed. Toronto is also getting 3 extensions of the rapid transit network. The Eglinton Crosstown is being extended to the border of the city, connecting a busway which serves regional buses and most of Mississauga, and an easy connection to Pearson Airport. Tunneling was completed on the longest section of the project in spring 2024, while construction continues on the elevated guideway and short mine tunnel, which will connect to the existing Eglinton crosstown. The station's rail and systems contract for the extension was signed earlier this year, allowing major construction work to begin on the stations and other key infrastructure components not already underway through the tunneling or elevated guideway contracts. The Yonge North subway extension extends Toronto's busiest subway line to Richmond Hill Centre near Highway 407, a major regional transit hub for the local transit agency and GO Transit's high-frequency regional buses. The tunneling contract was awarded this summer, and work at the TBM launch shaft in Richmond Hill has begun. Finally, the Scarborough subway extension replaces the now-closed Line 3, extending Line 2 of the subway into Scarborough with 3 stops, serving a major hospital, Scarborough Town Centre Mall, and a potential future interchange with at least 3 other rapid transit lines. The project is currently in the tunneling phase, which started nearly 3 years ago, and it was supposed to be completed within 2 years. Unexpected soil conditions have led to the TBM movements being paused at several locations for maintenance and troubleshooting, slowing progress, but speeds have improved a lot this year, with 3 kilometers tunneled. A busway along the closed Line 3 corridor is being built to speed up bus rides for Scarborough Transit riders in the interim, and should be completed ahead of schedule by fall of 2026. Toronto's neighboring cities to the west are also getting a new LRT line, the Hazel-McCallion line connecting Brampton and Mississauga with 19 stops. Rail installation and concrete pours for the track bed and platforms continued this year, although rebuilds of many sections have also occurred to fix deficiencies, including needing to rip up most of the tracks connecting the main line to the maintenance facility. Originally meant to open last fall, the line likely won't open for a couple more years, but continues to move forward in addition to 2 extensions in the planning stage. A little farther out in the GTA, 2 LRT projects made progress this year. The first RFP for the Hamilton LRT was released, beginning the process of utility and related infrastructure relocations to prepare for major construction. In Cambridge, Council approved staff to pursue further funding from the provincial and federal governments for the extension of Waterloo's Ion farther into Cambridge. Several BRT and bus improvement projects are also taking place throughout the Greater Golden Horseshoe, however the timelines for many of these aren't very clear. Linking all of these projects in the region is a major expansion of GO Transit. The operations contract for GO expansion was cancelled earlier this year. However, the infrastructure side of the project continues to move ahead with corridor expansions, new stations, and service improvements. Also proposed as part of the most recent provincial election was GO 2.0, which includes 2 new GO lines. GO expansion seems to have been de-scoped, at least in the short term, but the goals of a first phase also seem to be getting finalized, a promising first step towards a solid plan. The Northlander is a new train line connecting Northern Ontario and Toronto, 4 to 7 days per week, depending on the season. Construction has continued to build new tracks and low-cost stations, which will be easier to maintain. The first of 3 new train sets was delivered to Via's maintenance yard in Toronto just last week, with service expected to start sometime next year after extensive testing. This service reinstates the Northlander train, which was operated until 2012 when it was shut down due to a lack of funding. Over in Ottawa, 2 new rapid transit lines were opened at the start of the year. Line 2 had been closed while the corridor was upgraded, but has now been reopened with more stations and significantly nicer trains. Line 4 is a short stub line serving Ottawa's airport with time transfers to Line 2. However, riders going from the airport to downtown need to take 3 trains, taking longer than some buses and more than double the time it takes to drive. A rail connection is still much more comfortable than buses for many travelers, and speeds can easily be increased with the larger fleet and more double tracking in the long term. Construction continues on the east and west road extensions of the O-Train Line 1 and Line 3. The east extension of Line 1 was delayed for further testing, but will hopefully open in early 2026. Following a campaign pledge from the provincial government and support from Ottawa City Council, negotiations are underway to upload the O-Train to the province, transferring operations to Metrolinx, and likely shifting project management of future O-Train extensions from the city to province as well. More details will likely be released next year over what an upload of the system would mean for Ottawa. Montreal opened an extension of the REM, an automated regional metro, which now serves 19 stations. The Dumontin branch opened in November, while the Anse-Lorme branch was delayed until spring 2026 for further testing. Construction continues on the 2-stop branch to Montreal's International Airport, while testing takes place on the West Island. The REM is arguably North America's most exciting transit project. It's not perfect, some stations are extremely car-centric, but it's delivered high speeds, platform screen doors, and better regional connections, all for a low cost. An extension and modernization of the Blue Line of Montreal's metro is also taking place, with the TBMs delivered to the launch shaft just a few weeks ago, and early works taking place at the future station sites. 2 new tram lines are also in early stages, one in Quebec City known as Tramseat, and another in Gatineau to connect Ontario and Quebec by tram. Tram Seeds is well into the procurement phase with 2 major contracts set to be awarded next year. Further planning will be undertaken once the winning consortiums are chosen in a co-development phase. TramGo is also in early planning, having received a small amount of funding for development of the Gatineau and Ottawa sides of the project, assisting in initial planning and project management. Aside from local transit projects, Canada is finally getting high-speed rail through Alto, a new crown corporation that replaced the Via HFR project. Once fully operational, Alto will be a high-speed rail service from Toronto to Quebec City, operating at 300 km per hour, roughly double the speed of many Via Rail routes today. Unsurprisingly, the first segment to begin construction in 2029 will be between Ottawa and Montreal, as announced earlier this year. Consultations with communities and suppliers will continue to take place next year to help finalize station locations and alignments. 2025 was a year of major transit progress. 4 rapid transit lines opened, 4 more are preparing to open next year, 2 broke ground, all while several others are advancing in planning stages, procurement, and major construction. Rapid transit isn't the only measure of a good transit system. Even 1 extra bus, 1 more queue jump lane, or easy-to-read schedules are all crucial to making public transit better, and agencies across the country, including provinces we didn't cover today, continue to make improvements. 2025 has also been a great year for the channel, thanks to viewers like you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the new year where we'll be covering all of these projects in more detail.